Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to catch up and meet amazing human beings with amazing stories. Today, I'm so happy to welcome Toby to this conversation. Welcome, Toby.
Hi there.
Hello there. So as I always do, I will introduce Toby as I know him. And actually, I don't know Toby that well. I've done a little bit of research, of course, as all good podcast hosts should do on their guests. But Toby was introduced to me through a mutual contact, mutual friend. And as soon as I started reading into Toby's story, it was absolutely, I wanted Toby on this podcast. Toby is an incredible human being, a person that's been through quite a lot of challenges, and we'll talk about those during the recording of this podcast, of course. So Toby, welcome. I really don't want to steal any of your thunder when it comes to your story. I'll let you tell your story to the audience that are listening or watching this today. Just to let you know, there might be some pauses in this conversation. We don't edit or pause the recording, just for a couple of reasons. Toby might need a drink or might be taking a deeper breath. So just so everybody knows, just if there is any pauses. So thank you, Toby, for agreeing to join me. I really feel honored to have you here. Do you want to introduce yourself? Tell people about you?
Yes, sure. My name's Toby. I was born in South Africa to British parents. I grew up there till I was about 20 years old. And then I decided to move to the UK and I joined the British military, where I served for numerous years until I unfortunately was on tour in Afghanistan and I was shot in the neck. And unfortunately, the bullet hit my spinal cord and paralyzed me instantly from the neck down. So I now breathe on a ventilator and have no movement or feeling from my neck down. And since then, I've been on this real crazy journey, mentally especially, to basically, pick myself up, reinvent myself. And I can't say it's all been smooth sailing. It really hasn't. And I've really, been through the mill. But eventually, when I started to get back on my feet, in a manner of speaking, I decided to go back to education, revisit my studies, get a qualification, and I wanted to do something I loved. So I started my own company called Bravery, and from there, literally, I've just been living my own life and trying to do things I enjoy and stay positive.
Wow, and what an introduction as well. And thank you so much for sharing that. And and for anybody that is interested, we will repeat it many times throughout this, I'm sure. Bravery is your business, and bravery.org.uk is the website where you've got some great sort of story stuff on there, but you also sell merchandise around that to support these conversations. So we'll get a little bit into that a little bit later, if that's okay. The big question that I always ask in here is about your journey with mental health. And of course, you've already outlined a big impact moment for you. How has your life been through the eyes of the mental health journey, if that's something that you can recognize? So maybe from when you were younger, through the experiences of your military career, and then through where you are now. So how's that been recognized by you?
So growing up in South Africa, I was a very physical orientated child, so a lot of sport and that area of things, and I was very active. Joined the military, very active, and then after my injury, I lost all my physical capabilities. And I sort of had to reinvent myself because I lost my entire identity, or what I deemed identified me as a person, which was quite a physical, active person, always out and about doing things. And I just had to reinvent myself, which was really hard, really, really difficult mentally and psychologically, because you kind of lose who you are. And you end up in a void of where do I go from here? And it's a very dark, scary place, and you don't even know if you can, or you just don't know which way to turn. So mentally, it was really, really tough. So that's one thing, I always think about when it comes to the mental health side of things.
Yeah. So did you ever have a diagnosis with anything in terms of a mental illness when you were going through those challenges? Did they ever sort of say, right, you might be struggling with depression?
Absolutely. I struggled with depression, and to be honest, and I'm quite open about it, I still do struggle with depression.
Okay. Yep.
A lot. I do, and it's something I deal with on a daily basis, and it does impact my life really, really, really badly. The other thing I really do struggle with now, since my injury, is I struggle with a lot of anxiety in social, or just even getting out and being in social, it's that really I find difficult. So I have a lot of social anxiety, depression. I do struggle with a bit of PTSD as well. So I've got a lot on my plate. To be honest.
Yeah, and it sounds very, very difficult, and you're a brave guy, and you've been through so much, and there's still much going on as well for you. And thank you so much for sharing that. That you're still experiencing those, because, like I say to anybody that participates in these, our life is a journey, and this is something that we carry with us. And some days are good, and some days are challenging, right? And
absolutely, yeah, that's the one thing about mental health. The things that happen to us in our life and create us, they don't go away,
No.
These are things, that will carry on for the rest of our lives. And what we can do is talk about it and just try and help each other and deal with it and cope with it the best we can.
So who's your support? Who helps you? How do you get through those challenges, those moments where you feel low and dark and things like that? What do you do?
Well, I do have a great support network. My military buddies are still very close to me, and they're always coming in and they're just great. They're the saying within the military, no one gets left behind.
Yeah.
And that's just so true. And even though I'm not now serving, they're still with me, and so I've got them. That's a big support, massive support network. I have a wonderful partner who is just so patient, so understanding of my situation, and she just gets me through so much of the dark stuff and the dark times. And then I've just got some great friends, people I've met along the way, and they just really help. So I'm very fortunate, but they also, on the more serious side as well, I do seek professional help as well. So I do have a professional support network as well. Which I think is important to say. If you do feel as though you need professional help, please do seek it. And it's not an embarrassment or an attack on your character. It's normal, and it's completely okay.
Yeah. And I love that you've said that it's normal and it's completely okay, because for so many people, they don't feel that that's the case. They feel it's a failing of them to seek that support and that help. And I genuinely just feel quite worried about that when people feel that way, because, everybody's story is different. It is unique. Your story is unique to you, but it also resonates with so many people when you talk about depression, anxiety, those different things. And they're formed often around traumatic incidents and events and things that happen in our lives. And I just think it's great that you can normalize that. question then. So when you obviously had your traumatic event, it was a life-changing event for you, of course. It changed your whole world and it was flipped right round, right? Did you, or how long did it take you to sort of seek the right help mentally through that? Was it something that you were offered very quickly, or did it just take a long time for you to sort of come to terms with what was going on? How did that work?
It took me a long time to actually get the right help, because I thought I was I thought I was strong enough to actually come through this on my own, and I thought, I guess going it alone was what I had to do, and it was the right thing to do. And I was fighting it, and it was a struggle, and eventually it got to the point where it was it was just too much, and it must have been about, I would say it was 3, maybe 4 years after my injury, where I just got to a point where I'd had enough. I got to, I couldn't take anymore, and that's really where I started seeking proper professional help. But it got to the point where I ended up having almost a mental breakdown, and I was admitted to hospital for it. And that's where proper professionals came in, and I got diagnosed properly, and it went from there. But I was at a really, really bad point. At that stage, I was pretty much at the end of my road. I'd had enough. I had enough, basically.
I respect that, and I can understand and empathize with you in terms of where your feelings were within those moments, especially if you'd spent so long sort of with those feelings. You made some changes though, right? So you got some help, you got some support, things started to change for you. You spoke about it in your introduction. You went back to education, you studied, you've started a business.
Yep.
Let's focus on some of those real, I guess they're really positive things for anybody that's listening to recognize. You've been down on the ground, you've really found that hard space, and a really hard place to come back from, and absolute kudos to you to come through and continue to work hard to keep going. So tell us a bit about going back into education first. Let's start with that one. So what was your catalyst for that? What did you think?
I guess when I was at my lowest points and I was kind of going through it all, I really looked deep into myself, and I just started trying to remember all the things that made me, and all the positives I could think about me. And one of the things I've always had was a curiosity for the education and learning about life and people, and just expanding the mind. And when I was speaking to people, they kept saying to me, you should really try and maybe tap into that a little bit more. So I thought, why not? And that started with going right back to doing my GCSEs again. And I thought, I'll just start, slowly break it in slowly, because I'd been out of education for quite a while, and I didn't want to just run before I could walk. So I redid my GCSEs, and then I just found that it started really giving me a focus, and started making me feel better, because I was actually achieving something, and I was doing something on a purpose, and it was nice to get up and feel like, I've got something to look forward and do. So I started just building on it, and I finished my GCSEs, and then I thought, right, what's next? And then I went on to college, and I decided to redo my A-levels. So I did 4 A-levels.
Wow.
If I remember correctly. I think it's English, literature, philosophy, law, and of course business, business studies. And then from there it was, just like I said, just, building brick on brick, slowly but surely building myself up. And I just found it was reinvigorating me the more and more I seemed to achieve. I thought, hey, I can actually still do something there. And that's really where it started. And then the idea of starting my own business came into play. And from there, I thought, shucks, okay, I'll go down the business road. So once I got my 4A levels, I went on to university. And that's where I started my business degree, and started just building the company really out of nothing, and I just, and it's now fully fledged company, and it's helping other people, and it's got such a positive message behind it. And it's all about being brave and being courageous through those really hard times. And it's an everyday struggle, and help, just getting through it, and that's really what the company's about.
Okay, and so I'm always interested in what you're doing with your company, but so just going back slightly, so when you were doing your degree in business, is that when you started the business? Did you start at that point, or was it something you were just conceptualizing?
Pretty much. I mean, I think I registered the company just before I started university.
Okay.
But it was very, I started off very, very slowly, just like finding out, okay, I need to register the company. So I need a company name, and then looking at a title and a logo, what symbolized bravery and what symbolized the brand. So I did that, and just slowly doing that. And then what I was learning through my degree, I just started applying those fundamental business principles. And I was getting a lot of advice at the same time, and very nicely, and that's where I am.
Amazing. It's an incredible thought, that you were going through all of these traumatic things and the challenges, and yet you were still focusing on something so positive, on balance, negative pieces, of course, and so it's incredible. I love this story. I think it's such a great and a wholesome story in so many ways. So your mission within Bravery, what do you want it to become? What's your dream, Toby? What do you want it to do?
I want Bravery to be a symbol to people. I want people to wear it, to feel invigorated by it, proud to wear it, that perhaps they've been through something, whatever challenge that may be in life. And we all know that there's so many different challenges in life, and they've come through it, especially with the mental health side of things, and they've been brave at some point in their life where they've had that moment where they've had to be brave. And that's what, maybe it can be a symbol of that, and it's a company around that. Ultimately, yes, we sell product and we sell merchandise and things like that, but ultimately it's a message. It's a brand with a message. It's a lifestyle, it's a code, and I want people to buy into the brand, in terms of that idea, not just, it's another clothing brand, or it's another extreme sports brand. Right. No, this is something different. This is something that actually means something, and that people can get behind.
Yeah. Well, and great, and I think that's such an important part of it, isn't it? There's a reason for it being, and there's a purpose for it being out there, and it is that communicating a message of we're all brave in our own little ways sometimes. Absolutely. And moments in our lives will challenge us, and to be brave is to speak out sometimes and say, I'm struggling, I need help, I totally resonate with your messaging, Toby, and anything that I hope, if people are listening, and when people are listening to this, that they will go on your website and they will connect with your your mission and your message, because I do think it's really powerful. And especially right now, people feel isolated and unable to sort of communicate so well with others around the challenges that they're experiencing, and this world needs more hope. We need more hope, we need more connection, we need more bravery to do that as well. And I just send every positive thought to you guys around getting that working and running, and it's just an incredible story. Yeah, so anybody that's listening, bravery.org.uk. I hope I've got it right. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Perfect. Good.
That's website. Yeah.
Yeah. Shameless plug for the website. I give the wrong one. That'd be bad, wouldn't it?
No. Yeah. That is right. We also have a Facebook page as well. So if people want to go onto Facebook and look at bravery.org.uk and
Brilliant.
follow us, that's great. And we're on Instagram, which is bravery_UK.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to be subscribing to all of those.
That shows a bit more about the brand.
Brilliant. And I'll be subscribing into those. And I think the other thing in there, and when I was doing the research before this, was there was a couple of things that stood out to me. Was underprivileged children, which was one area that you're very focused on supporting, and those who have been discharged from the armed forces as well.
Yeah.
What's the motivation behind those? Well, I can attest to the one that the armed forces, I'm sure, but what's the motivation? What's the thought in those?
Well, obviously, yeah, the one with the military side of it is very, very close to my heart, and I know personally a lot of people who are struggling, really struggling mentally with all kinds of things, and that I just found really heartbreaking, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to help these people in any way I can, whether that's actually, donating part of our profits to charities that will help people discharge members of the armed forces, or even serving members. And then the other one was underprivileged children. So we support a charity called Surfers Not Street Children, and it's a charity that actually looks at trying to help kids get off the streets, but not only that, it uses extreme sports, surfing in particular, to encourage these kids to achieve things and go out and show them that they can improve their lives, and that's there's more to life than drugs, crime, gangs, etc. Because these kids, psychologically they're also really struggling, because the only route they see in life is to just follow the trend and the crowd, which is the easy route. And that's go into the gangs. And they have to be brave, really brave, to say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to become a gang member or a drug dealer or whatever that may be. I want to do something different. I want to, go into education and achieve something. And that takes huge mental strength and massive amounts of bravery. And I've just seen how devastating it can be to people's lives. So I really want to help and put something back into the community that way as well.
Amazing. And well, what a fantastic role model you are with your story, your journey, your experience, your knowledge, your awareness, your wisdom, and all these things. And you oh my gosh, you absolutely represent all the positive sides of mental well-being when it comes to adversity, getting through those challenges. So congratulations to you for supporting those organizations that are really, as you say, they're beneficial to others, to those who might go down the wrong path. And that is such a concern right now, especially with some of the challenges that we're all facing. Let me ask you one quick question before we close out around the whole of the pandemic. You know, it's relevant to this conversation of mental well-being, the journey. How's it been for you? How's things been over the last 10 months, I guess?
Yeah, it's really been, it has been hard mentally. I've had to shield pretty much the all of last year.
Yeah.
And now into this year, I've been shielding, so I haven't been able to see, you know, those network of support people that I mentioned earlier. My friends from the military and that have not been able to come around. So it's been really tough, and I've had to find other ways of seeking professional help and things like that, which isn't the same as face-to-face, and not being able to get out, fresh air, things like that. It is hard. You start getting, you know, claustrophobic, the cabin fever, and you start to end up, it's very easy to just get flat, you know, with your motivation and things, and it's really tough. So for me, it has been really hard. But, you know, I try and stay positive. I try and think it's gonna get better. You know, we just gotta get through it, and hopefully we all stay safe, and we'll come out the other side.
Amen. Absolutely. You know, we can only just retain that hope that things will change and improve sooner rather than later. And, you know, it's obviously work in progress for every single person, but thank you for sharing that. And so we're going to sort of wrap up now, and I will let you have the floor to say anything you want to say to encourage the conversations as well. But Toby, I feel so privileged to be able to talk to anybody that attends these podcasts, and for yourself in particular as well. You've got an amazing story, and one that, you know, is continuing. Of course, it's not a finished book. The book conversation we had before about people putting books on their shelves and stuff is quite relevant. Your book is not written; it is still a work in progress, right?
Well, keep an eye out.
Definitely. Yeah, for anybody that's watching, there's some of Toby's sort of stock behind. If anybody wants to buy any of his merchandise from his website, please do. Everybody go and buy loads of things to support the bravery concept and the bravery movement. But yeah, so from my side, Toby, I just want to say a huge thank you on behalf of myself and no doubt the listeners and the people that are out there. Just to say, keep going. You're doing an amazing job. You're a fantastic role model, and you know, that's to be applauded and you know, commended in so many ways. Any final closing words from yourself, sir?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me on your program and on your podcast. You know, anything to do with mental health is obviously very close in my heart. But I mean, the two things I always like to say is that if anyone is struggling with mental health, you know, do not take it all on yourself. You know, it's okay to talk, and you can, you know, find help, and it is out there. Be brave. It's not a crime. It's not an embarrassment. It's not an attack on your character. Be proud of who you are, and really, just always follow your heart. You know. That's usually where I like to leave it as a few words of encouragement for anyone out there who is struggling mentally.
Thank you. Always follow your heart. Great saying, great sort of quote, great statement. So remember that, everybody that's listening. Thank you so much, Toby. As I always say at the end of these sessions, if anybody is struggling, if you do need extra help and support, if you do need to, or feel that you'd like to talk to somebody, maybe even for the first time, you've never spoken about some of your challenges, your worries, your concerns, Samaritans is an amazing organization that exists today to support those conversations. It's there and accessible for every single person. Please know it's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to offer a confidential, non-judgmental listening support for anybody that needs it. The number is 116 123. Please do feel free to call them at any point. I'm very proud of my role as a Samaritans listening volunteer, and I know through personal experiences talking to Samaritans can really help to support some of these conversations. You can always reach out to me if you need anything else, and I encourage more people too, because I'm going to be doing lots more of these conversations and chats. So Toby, thank you so much. We're going to do the goodbye and say goodbye, and I'm going to turn off this recording very shortly, but thank you so much again, sir.
Thank you.